Peace and blessings, guys. It's the Queen of Spades. I've been wanting to do more videos, and I've been like hella busy lately. So I haven't been able to record as much as I've wanted to. So I'm back today, and I wanted to do another story time about my life because there's so many things I would love to share and cover. In order to get there, I need to move on past, early childhood. I believe I left off at middle school, so that's where I'm going to pick up. So firstly, when I entered into middle school, which in South Carolina, middle school starts at 6th grade. It's different up north. It starts, at 7th grade up north. So it's 7th and 8th. In the South, it starts at 6th, 7th, and 8th. So when I went to middle school, first of all, before middle school even began, I've always had major anxiety. So before it even started, I started in my mind thinking about all the different possibilities. Will the people like me here? I'm from up north, I know that they're probably really different from the people up north, from the environment up north. Will they like me? Will I have friends? I thought about all those things. So I was hella nervous. I basically ended up making myself sick with my anxiety. And basically what ended up happening was I had to be rushed to the emergency room because a couple of days before school even began, my anxiety got the best of me. I started like really worrying about like if people would like me, if I would like it there. I really wanted to go back up north. And of course, it wasn't my choice because, my parents made that decision for me. And there was really nothing I could do about it. So it was just like I had so many negative thoughts, like what if I don't like it here? What if this doesn't turn out right? And I ended up being put into the emergency room because my anxiety got so bad to where it started causing stomach crampings. So when it got that bad, of course, nobody really knew, like, to what extent or even the reason as to why my stomach was hurting that badly. All they knew was that I was doubled over holding my stomach and I was in a lot of pain. And I don't think I even understood that I brought that on myself. All I knew was that I was hurting and, I didn't really understand why. So I was rushed to the emergency room. They did all these different tests on me. They were asking all these different questions. Did she take pills? Did she try to attempt suicide? And, all these different questions. And none of that was the case. I just was so nervous. I started, like, my stomach literally kind of like locked up. And when you understand a level of spirituality, you understand that anxieties, fears, different things of that nature can cause problems within the stomach, within the intestines. Every physical dis-ease has a spiritual root cause. So because I was not at ease spiritually, I caused dis-ease within myself physically. It was just that simple. They ran numerous tests on me. They couldn't find anything. They couldn't even understand why I was in that level of pain. Like, how did that just come on? They couldn't find anything. So they kept me maybe like 2 days just for the test results and things like that to come back, just to make sure, to see if that cramping started back up while I was there or anything like that. Now, of course, while I was there, I had an auntie that worked in that particular hospital system. So she spoiled me. She always bought me the good food, the good drinks. I was at peace there. My mother stayed with me until she couldn't stay any longer. Then she went back home with my siblings. But I was in total peace there. I didn't have to worry about anything. I had a remote control and a TV in a private room, and I had food on call, drinks on call, a private restroom. I was in heaven. So at first I was kind of like a little afraid for her to leave and go back home. But the more I stayed there and like it just, I realized that I was actually in a state of peace, like complete peace. And I didn't have to worry about sharing a TV with siblings. I didn't have to worry about anything. Like people came in ever so often to check on me. It was kind of like being in a hotel with unlimited room service. That's what it felt like to me. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I imagined myself as this rich woman, with with you know, with maids and room service on call. But I enjoyed it. I remember my mother came the next day, and I was laying in the emergency room bed with my legs crossed, and I had the remote in my hand, and I was flipping through the channels, and she just came in the room, and she's like, "Oh, you mighty comfortable here, aren't you?" And I was like, "Hey," excited, shocked, surprised, all at the same time. And I was hoping the doctors found something. That way I wouldn't have to ever go to middle school, and that way I could just possibly stay here at the hospital. But it doesn't quite work that way now, does it? And I just remember feeling like I don't want to go back home. And I don't want to go to middle school either. Like, I was just at peace. Unfortunately, my stay there came to an end a couple of days later, as they realized that I didn't have any more stomach cramping while I was there or anything. All tests came back negative of any poisons or anything. So they didn't know what to think. They really didn't know what to think about that. And I didn't fake that. That was real. So they didn't know what to think of that. But it was just crazy. I do remember like not wanting to leave. It really felt like a safe haven. So like I said, they didn't find anything. I didn't experience any more cramping, stomach cramping there. And I gather it was because I was at peace in my mind. So there was nothing to bring that on. I did realize over time, though, as I got older, that every time I became anxious or nervous, like really anxious or nervous, it would bring on, a degree of stomach cramping and pain. So that's just something that has always been here and there the case for me. But my auntie was like, "You are the best patient that I've had. I wish you could stay with me and keep me company." And she's like, "When you get old enough, if you get your degree in college, you come and work here with me since I'm the director here, and I'll make sure you have a job." And I was like, "Okay." And I was actually looking forward to that. Like, I didn't know what degree I had to get there, but I was thinking about it hard. Like, oh, I want to be here with my auntie. It's fun here. It's cool here. So the way that the cookie crumbled was I had to go back home and I had to prepare to now start middle school 2 days late, which also made me nervous because like everyone's already met each other and I'm the new kid on the block. And not only that, but I'm the new kid on the block and I'm going to be 2 days late or behind, everyone else. So I was just trying my best not to cause, let the nervousness cause me to end back up in the hospital. I had decided at some point I'm going to make peace with this and I'm going to, go through with this experience. I need to at least see if I even am going to like it or not because I don't know right now. So when I went there, I met many different people. The country way that people talk down south, I ran head first into that, and I didn't know what to do about that because I had never heard people talk like that before. It was definitely a culture shock, and they had never heard someone like me talk how I talk before. So they labeled me the black white girl. And they asked me like, are your parents, white people that are rich? Or I'm like, no, my parents are black people and they work hard for theirs. Why would you think I'm raised by white people? And they like, cause you talk like a white girl. I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know how a white girl is supposed to talk versus how a black girl is supposed to talk. I just know that this is how I talk. And they sounded like, descendants of our people from back during a time where we didn't know how to read or write. And I was like blown away. Like, did nobody teach these people here how to talk or how to write or how to read? Like, it was such a shock to me, I tell you. And I didn't look down on them, but it was just like, why are they different? Like, why are they extremely different? And they looked at me the same way, like she's weird, like she got 5 heads from another planet, They could not understand why I didn't sound like them. And I couldn't understand why they sounded the way they sounded, period. So we were just both in awe, of each other. Meanwhile, I guess because I'm the new kid on the block and then everything's different about me. I wear, fezzes. Like you remember the old videos, music videos of Queen Latifah, where she made her old music videos and rap songs, how she used to have like a fez on her head. I had something similar to that, except mine was, it was made from, like the fabric was from a fabric store and it was sewn into the shape of a crown. And it latched around my head, like, with the Velcro, So that's what I wore. And I had ones of different colors and I had nice little flowy skirts to match them. And I wore white collared dress blouses with blazers, and everyone else just kind of wore jeans and t-shirts, the latest fashions. I wore dress shoes every day to school, my Sunday's best, I guess. And everyone, that also made people look at me like, she is so weird. Like, why? She's like a grown woman, little girl. Like, what is going on with her? I can imagine it was very, very weird for them. Although I was used to seeing people in jeans and t-shirts, Um, it didn't come as a surprise or a shock to me. I saw these things, but I just also understood that I like to dress differently. Like I liked being the oddball. Um, Whereas other people may feel a little uncomfortable with that. I loved being different. I loved it. Like it's in my nature. So um and that didn't stop like little boys from being attracted to me. Um like I guess other girls probably thought it would because I dressed so different. I acted so different. I talked so different, but that probably intrigued the species from the opposite sex. They if they like something or something catches their eye, even if it seems different and weird to us females, um or others, period, um that didn't stop them from wanting to approach, or send someone, to approach. So I had this one situation where um, it was this guy, and he's like the head basketball um, captain, the basketball captain of the team. And I'm walking to class one day, and this girl, she's like, Medina. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, come here for a minute. And I go over to her, and she's like, Cedric wants to talk to you. And I'm like, who? And she's like, Ced, the basketball team captain. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. And she's like, he's right over there. And the guy was standing off to the side, surrounded by all these other guys, I'm guessing from the basketball team. And he's looking at me and he's smiling. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And she's like, he wants to talk to you. He wants your number. And he told me to give you this. And she puts this piece of paper in my hand, and it has his name and number on it. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, what are some good qualities about him? And she's like, huh? And I'm like, what are some good attributes, about him? What are some of his positives? And she's like, some of his positives. And I'm like, okay, like, is he smart? Is he intelligent? She's like, girl, you using all them big words. I don't know what you talking about. And I'm like, oh, does he get good grades in school? And she's like, oh, I don't know, girl. And I was just like, okay, well, I like intelligent guys. Like I'm really attracted to intelligence. Like he's gonna be with me. He has to have good grades and stuff like that. Like, cause I love reading books. I love So she's like, well, I don't know all about that, but you can ask him yourself. Here's his number or whatever. And I was like, well, see, the problem with that is, my family is very religious, and I cannot accept his number. I'll never be able to call him. And she's like, you can't talk on the phone to boys? And I'm like, nope. And I said, see, so in another sense, even if he was everything that I want in a guy, I can't talk to him anyway. And I was like, plus, I'm probably too young for boyfriends anyway. I'm really just focusing on getting, my grades good, staying alert in class and in school, and getting out of here at some point. I want to be able to graduate top of my class, and those things are very important to me right now. So you see, I really don't have time to even think about a boyfriend. Maybe when I get a little older, but at this point, I think I'm too young for it anyway. And she's like, okay. She's like, there's a lot of girls that like said, a lot of girls. Like, he could pick any one of them, but he wanted to talk to you. And I guess I should have felt privileged or special, maybe even. And I did, to an extent, feel a little special, that someone is attracted to me, wants to talk to me, wants to get to know me. But in another sense, it was just like I guess I had high ideas of my self-worth even at that age. So a guy had to be a certain way. He had to look a certain way. He had to be a certain way, energetically, intellectually. Like, that's what I wanted, and the poor guy, he was somewhat attractive. I could see why girls were attracted to him. And then he had the popular status of being the basketball coach, not coach, basketball team captain. And so I can understand why people really liked him and thought he was attractive. However, that wasn't enough for me. He seemed to, like, I would see him with girls in the hallway sometimes, and he's all over them, and different things like that. He didn't seem to have a level of respect for girls, like what I was raised up seeing. Men have that level of respect for women. I didn't see that, and I knew that anybody I got with, he had to show that. He had to exemplify that. So I just knew me and Mr. Said would not have worked. And along with all the rules and regulations that was set up around me and, in our religious upbringing, I knew it wouldn't have even worked out. So it was no point in even getting into it. Plus, around that time, that song by Lauryn Hill was really hot. And Lauryn Hill, it's one of my favorites. That song, that thing, that came out. And it reminded me of him. And she's basically saying, girls, you better watch out, because there's some guys, those guys are only about that thing. And I took pride in protecting that thing. I took pride in protecting my virtue until for the right one, that I thought or whatever would once come along, and that person would be a person that I settle down with and marry. That was my ideal. That's how I was raised and programmed to think. So nobody was going to get close to that thing until I had found the right one. So I remember having a couple of friends. Like, I had this friend girl, her name was Amanda. And Amanda looked like a hillbilly. She had really long hair, really long hair, like all the way down, almost like to her knees. So she wore it like straight back, and it fell down to like the crease on the back of her knees. And she wore like a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers, very like tomboyish, but she was so cool. And we had the common interest of being interested in the different classes, science, social studies. She was almost in all of my classes. Also, we had the interest of music. We both loved music of all types. And that's how we could connect and relate. So if I liked a song, she might come in the next day like, look at what I printed out on my computer last night. And it'll be the words to the song. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So my parents, it was the end of the school day, and I was walking outside to go and meet them. And she's like, oh, I'll help you with your book bag. I'm like, I, it's okay. I'll do it myself, because I knew like the energy that would come from my parents. She's like, it's fine, I got it. She helps me over to them. And my mother instantly, she's sitting in the car, she looked her up and down like, who are you? You know? And my father got out, he gets my book bag, and I'm like, this is my friend Amanda, and my father's like, nice to meet you. How you doing? He gets my book bag, puts it in the car, and then he goes over to um, my door to open it for me. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow. Um, she's like,